What is up, YouTube? We are back with another video. This week's video, I am discussing and showing videos and photos of that Tennessee install that I just created a video on up on YouTube. The link is in the top right if you want to check out that video. But I'm going to record here and show exactly the results that we have had. They have had great results down in Tennessee. They had great growing conditions. The customer did use that drip tape 3 or 4 times in the spring, but then they got awesome rainfall this summer. Unlike us up in these northern states, unfortunately we had a dry summer, so cuttings did struggle, especially if you weren't able to water them. So we're gonna jump right into here and I'm gonna show you guys how tall the Silkies and the Hybrid Willow have gotten within the first couple months of growth. So right here we have the Hybrid Willow and the Silky Willow, both double staggered. This is the horseshoe, what we called it, and this is running along that easement. And so the Hybrid Willow is right in front of us on the left side, so you can see the 3 main trunks starting, and then the Silky have started up top to form their little bush. And then in this next photo here, it's another angle of that horseshoe along the easement. And as you can see, the success rates are very high. One crucial thing was the customer was able to water it with that drip tape, and then throughout the summer they got that awesome rainfall. So that is the main reason why they have such great success, and they were able to mow alongside to keep that edge cleaned up and have full sunlight. And then here is the southern line. As you can see from the drone footage, this is the area that we're working with. So as you can see here, full sunlight, great moisture. The soil conditions were great in this field, not a lot of rock. And the Silkies are 3 to 4 feet tall, and the Hybrid Willow are all of 6 feet. So they had great growing conditions. They had full sunlight, and the Hybrid Willow being 6 feet tall, by next year you're gonna be pushing 12 to 14 feet and actually creating a screen during deer season of this coming fall. And one thing that I wanted to mention here is, as you notice the gap that we left between the established mature tree line and the first Hybrid Willow line, is the reason we left that gap is to allow good moisture and to allow enough room so that the Hybrid Willow are able to establish properly with their root system and not compete against those mature trees in their giant root system. So if you have enough room to move out into a field, food plot, or by a roadside, I would try to keep that gap as much as possible, because that's going to allow those trees and shrubs to mature properly and receive full sunlight and full moisture. And as you can see here, the customer used 2 strands of electric. This was crucial to keep the deer off, especially right away, because as soon as they start to bud, those deer are going to find those Hybrid Willow and start nibbling on them. And if they get that taste, they're going to really try to attack those Hybrid Willow and continue to overbrowse them. So I would recommend, as soon as planting and you're there on the property, get the electric fence on them, or some sort of fencing or cage or shrub. So as you can see from these photos here, also the 2 strands of electric around both. It worked great to just surround the entire area. The deer are only going to barely nibble on the Silky Willows, but the Hybrid Willow they would have hammered on. And this was a great photo and video combination here of how tall the Hybrid Willow got this first year. 8+ feet tall. Main reason why is they got good moisture, suppressed the weeds around the fabric, and protected them from the deer. If you do those 3 main things, you should expect to see out of Hybrid Willow 12-inch and 2-footers is 6 to 8 feet of growth, depending on your soil conditions and where you're at in the country that first growing season. So this is a great example of why we always recommend using a cage or some sort of fencing instead of a tube for the Hybrid Willow. They're going to create 3 main trunks, so they want more of an expansive base compared to our hybrid poplar. The hybrid poplar are able to grow with 1 trunk, and so using a tube works great for the hybrid poplar. But for the Hybrid Willow, we always recommend using either a larger cage, 12-inch diameter plus, or using an electric fence or snow fencing, depending on how long the lines are. The electric fence is by far the cheapest for longer lines and keeping deer off, but you do need to mow underneath of it to keep the weeds down. The snow fence is by far the most expensive for screening long lines, just because of the fence posts need to be 10 feet and no longer. but it does hold up to the snow and keeps the deer off 24/7, but it is the most expensive. And then individually caging, long lines can be very difficult and time consuming, but it is possible to do individual cages. But if you guys have a short line, then caging works great for both trees and shrubs. And every once in a while you guys will see a gap between the trees or maybe the shrubs, and that was because we just kept hitting rocks in these areas. It wasn't because we missed a gap here, it was because they had some big rock shelves, especially throughout Tennessee and the southern states down there by the mountains and the hills. You're gonna find some rockier areas, so in some of the areas we just had to simply leave a little bit of a gap or try to plant a cutting where there was a rock gap. But that is why sometimes you'll see a gap of 3 or 4 trees that are missing, and that's because we just simply could not plant a tree in a rock bar.
So here's a great example of why we need to protect the hybrid willow. So here is a hybrid willow double staggered row, 3-foot spacing, 6-foot spacing between here. As you guys can see here, the deer have nibbled almost every shoot off of all these shrubs, or all these trees, sorry. And then right next to it is a Silky Willow shrub line starting. They're the exact same age. Double staggered row of Silky here, and then a double staggered row of Hybrid Willow. And you can see how the deer have eaten the Hybrid Willow way more than the Silky Willow. And we'll just kind of take a trip here, try to find, so like here, example of where the deer have nibbled on the Silky. Probably as they were grabbing some of the Hybrid Willow, they're like, oh, maybe try a little Silky. Obviously didn't like it and kept moving. So I would definitely recommend protecting these guys. This guy is a Hybrid Willow. Not sure how he has made it this long, but he will definitely, if not protected, will be getting snapped off by the deer once all the leaves have dropped and the deer start nibbling on a lot of the other tree and browsing a lot heavier. So this is a great example of why the Silky Willow is the #1 choice when needing a shrub line that you don't necessarily want to have to worry about protecting. And I will have more information in a video about different ways to protect trees and shrubs and the difference it makes within those first couple growing seasons. That's where it's really crucial, is those first couple growing seasons, to make sure, 1, that the shrub actually grows and thrives and survives, and then 2, that you actually see results from your trees and shrubs after you've spent the money in order to get a tree or shrub line going.